Now war arose in heaven, Michael and his angels fighting against the dragon. And the dragon and his angels fought, but they were defeated, and there was no longer any place for them in heaven. And the great dragon was thrown down, that ancient serpent who is called the devil and Satan, the deceiver of the whole world. He was thrown down to the earth, and his angels were thrown down with him. And Jesus said himself, I saw Satan fall like lightning to earth. Now, Phoenician and Egyptian literature, Greek and Roman mythology, all sorts of creation accounts are available, but no account portrays the inception as evil as definitively as the Bible. Before the beginning of life on this planet, there was a war. It wasn't a war of swords, a la Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. It was a war of concepts, a battle for minds and affections. It's a war that continues to this second. The battle was for the trusting love of all the inhabitants of the universe. Lucifer wanted to be God, wanted to be worshipped, wanted to be envied. And God labored with Lucifer because Lucifer was not the source of life, and to say otherwise was to deceive. But deception, of course, is the devil's methods. Jesus says he was a murderer from the beginning. He has nothing to do with the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he lies, he speaks according to his own nature, for he is a liar and the father of lies. God is at a little bit of a disadvantage because he will not stoop to manipulating half-truths, nor will his followers. Dick Wynne said this conflict involves not an offended deity defending his dignity. It's not about being offended. It's about a loving God defending reality. This is about reality. The charges that the dragon levels at God are the complaints that remain today. God is against freedom. God is against personal expression. God is anti-fun. God is power hungry. God's subjects serve him out of greed or out of fear. Fire insurance. God is unforgiving. God is arbitrary. God will torture you if you don't agree with him. God cannot be trusted. Now, as I go through all of those, I hope you can recognize that each one of those actually applies to the enemy. Every one. We might ask, why didn't God squash Lucifer like a fly? Wouldn't that have saved untold agony? Certainly at the beginning, rubbing out the lone dissenter would not have endeared God to a watching universe. All would have served God thereafter out of fear, not love. The ultimate effects of evil would not have been evident. When our sons were very young, Yolanda got them a ball of white fluff, which the boys named Buffy. We watched this kitten hunt pieces of string and attack menacing curtains and nibble and purr and paw the litter box. After a few months, we decided it was time to let her run free on our country property. We lived in a cul-de-sac. You call it cul-de-sacs here? Oh, good. French word. Contained only 6 other homes on this. So traffic was extremely light. We thought, that's probably going to be okay. So the first day we let her out and watched her romp around with giddy glee. I left for work. When I returned home that evening, I noticed the spot of white on the pavement ahead. And my heart lurched. I drove closer until I could see her. There she was, squashed on the pavement. I still remember the look, the revolting death mask on the kitten as I tried to scrape a shovel under it. If you've ever done that, you can relate. I was grieving and disheartened. My spirit is flat as the crushed body. And at that moment, I remember thinking, this is the work of the enemy. This is what the enemy would have for every one of us, for my wife and children, for every being on earth. I stopped scraping, I leaned on my shovel, and I prayed, God, help me never to aid this enemy of yours, this agent of death. Alert me whenever I'm helping the wrong side. Enable me to always be angry about evil. We should never lose that anger. And to use only good means to fight evil. Evil is a mystery. Sometimes I ask people, what if Satan and his legions died today? Would there still be suffering tomorrow? They sadly shake their heads because we know that human evil will still exist. We're wound up like that. We have to be set free radically from the inside. We can't blame everything on Satan. So what do? One of the things to recognize is the tendency to evil within. When Adolf Eichmann organized anti-Jewish persecutions during World War II, it was in particular, he was in charge of the loathsome concentration camps. He was captured by United States forces in 1945, but he escaped until 1960, when Israeli agents found him living in Argentina. They smuggled him into Israel for trial. During the trial, one of the witnesses entered the courtroom and looked for the man who had put him through so much misery. When his eyes landed on Adolf Eichmann, the witness fell to his knees, broke down, and wept. When at last he stood, he told the hushed room why he had cried. He wept, he confessed, because at that moment he knew that within himself was the same tendency to evil that was in Adolf Eichmann. There was a rabbi who came across after World War II to the United States, and he said, I had to forgive Adolf Hitler because I did not want to bring Hitler with me into my new country. I had preached in my home church in San Luis Obispo, California, and apparently a visitor heard it, and he had kind of wandered in off the street. We're on a street where we get a lot of people who wander in. And he wandered in and listened to my talk, and then he sent me a letter afterward. His name is Christian Fogg. He's Danish, and on the back of the letter it said Christian Fogg, which I thought was a description of me. Fortunately, it wasn't. And he said he was intrigued by my talk and he wanted to talk more. And basically my talk is the one I'm giving today, without him in it at that time, if you're following. So I invited him to supper, to tea. You know, the first time we came here, I thought, these people drink a lot of tea. Every night they're at it. So we invited him, and we ate the meal, and then afterward we sat and we talked. And we talked about deep, deep, deep things. It's that kind of good talk you get sometimes with people. And he said, why is it that your God won't stop the suffering? Even an earthly father stops his children from hurting each other. Why doesn't your God?